Secretary Griswold, thank you very much for joining us tonight in what appears to be clearly a historic situation for you as a Secretary of State. I just want to go through some dates before we get to the merits of what's being considered by the Supreme Court. January 5th, the end of this week, Friday, as I understand it, is your deadline for, in effect, deciding what names will be on the primary ballot.
That's right.
And so what does this situation mean, given that this appeal process is underway? Does that mean, because of the appeal process, Donald Trump's name will be on the ballot?
That's exactly right. The Colorado Supreme Court determined that Trump did engage in insurrection, and because of that, he is disqualified from the ballot. But their decision stated that if an appeal was filed before today, he would be on the ballot until the Supreme Court took some type of action.
So you have to go to the printers and get these ballots printed, all of that, and that basically has to start happening 2 months before your March 5th election day, the primary election day.
On Friday, I certify the candidates who can be placed onto the ballot, and then the county clerks will start printing the ballots next week. Colorado, of course, we have some of the best elections in the country, and that includes early voting in person, but also mail balloting. And then ballots for overseas and military voters will go out actually this month. So it's a quickly approaching timeline. I do hope that the Supreme Court acts with urgency because, Lawrence, frankly, the American people deserve to know whether a president can engage in insurrection and then be qualified once again to hold that office.
As in what you see in Donald Trump's petition to the Supreme Court, is there anything there in their petition that shapes your view of this case as opposed to the Colorado Supreme Court's view of the case?
I would qualify it as more of the same, to a large extent, lies that we've heard since 2020. Donald Trump is trying to argue he did not incite an insurrection. Well, 2 Colorado courts at this point have determined that he did. And then Trump goes on to argue that even if he did incite the insurrection, well, the Constitution doesn't apply to him. I don't think that's right. I don't think that there's some get out of jail free card for the presidency that allows Donald Trump to escape scrutiny of the laws of the land and the Constitution. So I do think it's important for the United States Supreme Court to act quickly, even if that action is determining that they will not review the case. That, in effect, would basically put Colorado Supreme Court's case in full power and would disqualify the former president.
The Trump lawyers have pages of detailed complaints about the process in the Colorado courts, especially the district court before it got to the Supreme Court of Colorado, talking about procedural deadlines that weren't enforced in that. What do you see in their description of the procedures that brought this case to the Colorado Supreme Court?
This case was brought to the Colorado Supreme Court actually by 6 Colorado voters who are Republican and unaffiliated voters who want to ensure that the candidates that appear on their primary ballot are eligible candidates. And I'll tell you, something that was very striking to me in the district court case, so the first trial, was that Donald Trump didn't show up. You would think if someone was accusing you of engaging in insurrection and putting your whole presidential campaign in peril, that you would have at least an hour to show up, even remotely. He failed to do that. I think, we are seeing the effects of that. I'm not part of his legal team, obviously, but I would have advised my candidate to show up.
Do you recognize the possibility that in the 50 United States with 50 different secretaries of state, 50 different Supreme Courts in the United States, that different states could reasonably end up with different opinions about this?
That could happen. Every state has different laws on the books, different procedures. Some states allow disqualified or unqualified candidates onto their presidential primaries. States like Colorado, we do not allow that. And that's why I think it's so important for the Supreme Court to step in. This is a big question. It's novel. It's unprecedented because usually we do not have presidents trying to steal the presidency. Usually we do not have people who engage in insurrection run for president. But now that we do, I do think it's important for the Supreme Court to act quickly. I filed a brief yesterday urging their expediency, and I hope that they will do exactly that.
Colorado Secretary of State Jena Griswold in the center of history tonight. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you.